No, thank you so much. Welcome everybody. It's been a moment since I've been before you in this capacity, and it's a pleasure to do so. We're going to be talking tonight specifically on what is seen is temporary. In the main verse being 2 Corinthians 4:18. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. It- Really, the invisible reality of this, we live in a world that worships the visible. Success by the world standard is measured by what can be shown, what can be posted, what can be proven. Yet the Bible tells us that what is seen is temporary. Everything we can touch, everything we can own, everything we can experience in this life is fading and fleeting. What truly matters is actually that which is unseen, the eternal work of God within us, the unseen kingdom he is building, the eternal glory that awaits us. Paul wrote these words not in comfort, but in hardship. His body was failing, his ministry was persecuted, his future was uncertain. Yet he looked beyond the invisible, he looked beyond the visible world, the bars of his prison, if you will, to the eternal one. Not because it was easy, but because it was real.
Yes, yes.
And hopefully in this two part all together, but even specifically tonight, will help us fix our eyes where they actually belong, not on what fades, but on what lasts forever.
Right.
And the first point I want to highlight for us is the temporary nature of the visible world. And for starters, let me say this, that there's actually value in what is seen. I don't want us to cast aside everything that you can lay your eyes on. In 2 Corinthians 4:16 through 18, if I can quote again, therefore we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. Paul gives us a spiritual paradox here. The outward man decays, but the inward man is renewed. This means that our physical decline, our weariness, our sufferings, our sickness, our disease, our natural disasters, they are not the end of the story. That every trial we endure is producing something invisible but glorious within us. When we see our hardships only through the visible, only through the temporary lens, we can grow very discouraged. But when we see them as part of eternity's refining work in us, they can take on a whole new meaning and purpose. That every moment of pain is not wasted, it can be transformative. That God is using what is seen, your circumstances, your body, your pressures, to shape that which is unseen, your soul, your faith, your character, and ultimately your eternal reward. In 1 John 2:17, it says this, the world and its desires pass away, but whoever does the will of God lives forever. This reminds us that everything about this world is passing away. Its beauty, its power, its values, its decrepitness. Yet every act done in obedience to God, it lasts forever. It boldly and plainly stated that the will of God anchors us into something that is eternal. And when we chase what fades, when we chase what the world sees as success, is it no wonder that we end up empty, that we chase for more, we want for more. But when we walk in the will of God, even the smallest act of faith, that is eternal. That lasts. It means that what we do for God, the unseen acts of kindness, of forgiveness, of prayer, of service, of worship, they are more permanent than stone, than steel, than the very earth under our feet, that the Lord sees them all and remembers. Psalm 102, 25 through 27. I'm going to read again. In the beginning, you laid the foundations of the earth, and the heavens are the work of your hands. They will perish, but you remain. They will wear out like a garment, like clothing. You will change them, and they will be discarded, but you remain the same, and your years will never end. Even creation is temporary. If I could ask you to look out your window, look at the night sky, if we could see it through the clouds, even those things are temporary. Science explains this, the heat death of the universe. The suns will burn out. The electrons that move around all the atoms that make up the visible, they will be flung away. And so matter itself will be unmade in presumably billions and billions of years, presumably. But the Lord has a plan. So creation itself is temporary. The heavens and the earth, the most stable things we know, one day they will fade away. But God remains the same. The psalmist is this reminder that they're telling us about. Don't place eternal hopes in temporary materials. The only secure foundation is the unchanging nature of God. That every mountain, every sky, every structure will fall and crumble. But God's promises do not. God's promises will not. And that's where our faith must rest, in the one who doesn't change. And so let's talk about this eternal nature of the unseen world. In Hebrews 11:1, now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. Faith is not blind optimism, talking about things that are unseen. It's not blind optimism that you just have a chipper attitude and you're looking out for the best in everything. It's a trust in a reality that is unseen, that it exists currently. An optimist is like, oh, well, hopefully it will occur, it will become real. Faith is trusting in what is currently real, even though you can't see it. The unseen world, it's not imaginary. What the Lord is talking about, it is just simply invisible to you and I with our natural eyes. And faith allows us to see through a spiritual lens, with the power of the Holy Spirit, perceiving what God is doing beyond what our circumstances show. To know that the Lord exists, though we may not see his face, feel his touch, but we do. We know that is faith. When everything looks uncertain, faith reminds us that the unseen God is at work. When we can't see the outcome, we can still trust the author. When you get a prognosis, a diagnosis from the doctor, but you know the Lord has other plans, that you trust the author, the Alpha and the Omega, the end, the one who has the final say. The unseen world, the spiritual world, it is not vague or abstract. It is the foundation that all reality is built on. The eternal purposes, the character, the personhood of God. Colossians 3, at the very beginning of this chapter in verses 1 and 2, since then you have been raised with Christ. Set your hearts on things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. When the Bible repeats something, it's really saying, pay attention. This is extra important. Set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. God is calling us to lift our gaze, that our lives are no longer defined by what happens around us, but by what has been secured above us. Christ is seated at the right hand of God. That is the unseen throne from which all authority flows. Now, maybe some of you want to be cheeky and argue that the author of Revelation, he saw the throne, he had the vision of it. Well, that's a whole other thing. Let's slow down. When we set our hearts and minds on things above, we align our priorities. We begin to value that which heaven values. Holiness over pride and image. Obedience over comfort and laziness. Character over success and other people. Fixing our minds on eternal things transforms our minds and transforms how we live, because we live in a temporary world, but we can be transformed today for the eternal. 2 Kings 6, starting in verse 15. When the servant of the man of God got up and went out early the next morning, an army with horses and chariots had surrounded the city. Oh no, my lord, what shall we do? The servant asked. Don't be afraid, the prophet answered. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them. And Elisha prayed, open his eyes, Lord, that he may see. Then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked, and he saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. This passage is a powerful picture of spiritual sight. Elijah's servant only saw that which was visible, and he trusted what he saw more than the word of the Lord, which he'd been hearing from the prophet for how long? He saw the threat, the danger, the army around him. But Elisha saw through the eyes of faith. He saw, you call that an army? Have you looked all around? I see it. Lord, can you open his eyes to see? When we face overwhelming odds, we often panic. It seems that's the natural response. It's the logical response almost. But faith invites us to pray like Elijah. Lord, open my eyes. That the unseen world is not empty. It's not deaf to our troubles. It is full of God's presence and his power, his protection. And when we can see that, when the Lord opens our eyes to that, fear loses its grip. And so we need to be living with this eternal perspective. Matthew 6:19 through 21. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heavens, where moths and vermin do not destroy and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Jesus, he's contrasting two ways of living here: investing in the temporary or investing in the eternal, the things we've been discussing about. Earthly treasures, wealth, reputation, possessions, legacy, even. That's something I feel like is spoken about a lot, especially in my home country. Legacy. They can be lost in a moment. They can be lost in a word, and it's not even your word. Somebody else can say something and it ruin your reputation, ruin your investments, the market, the economy. It can be totally out of your control. It's that fleeting. Heavenly treasures, treasures of faith, of love, of obedience, of generosity, of worship, can never be stolen, can never be destroyed. And your heart always, this is one of those things that the Lord is sharing to us, a defining rule of reality, that your heart always follows your treasure. There is no other way. If we're going by the word of Jesus himself, there is no other way. If your treasure is on earth or in your driveway or in front of your sofa with your big TV screen, whatever it may be, maybe it's on an island in Spain, you have a holiday home, wherever your treasure may be, your peace and your joy, it rises and falls with the circumstances. But if your treasure is with God, your heart remains steady. And living with this eternal perspective means choosing to value what heaven values every day. Because let me tell you, we are not even citizens of this visible world anymore. In Philippians 3:20-21, but our citizenship is in heaven, and we eagerly await a Savior from there, the Lord Jesus Christ, who, by the power that enables him to bring everything under his control, will transform our lowly bodies so that they may be like his glorious body. We are not citizens of earth trying to get to heaven. We are citizens of heaven passing through earth. We are citizens of the eternal who just so happened to be visiting the temporary. And this changes everything. We, if we're living with that mindset, we don't cling to the things here on earth. And woe is me when they disappear. Temporary comforts. Now I'm not saying to not feel sorrow when something bad happens. That is not what I'm saying. Don't put words in my mouth. But it's lifting our eyes and living for eternal purposes and not being stuck here with the temporary of circumstances that even outside of your control, oh, I just can't get over this. Our bodies frail and temporary. This verse here promises us will be transformed. Our lowly bodies will be transformed. What is mortal will be put away and be given immortal with the Lord. What is weak will be made glorious. When we live with heaven in mind, we face suffering, we face temptation, we face uncertainty with a peace that can surpass all understanding. And the understanding there that's being talked about, it is an understanding that the world lives by. A logic. You should be sad when certain things happen. That's what everyone believes that. But a peace that surpasses that understanding is yes, the storm rages, but I live for the God who walks on the waves, who with but a word can cause the seas to calm. And knowing a peace where you know where you belong and where you're headed. Revelation 21, 1-4. This is maybe the chunkiest bit of text I'm going to go through here. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. This is this is the ultimate promise. The visible world will give way to the eternal one. The temporary will pass. The unseen kingdom will become visible. We will be just like in the very beginning in Genesis, in the Garden of Eden, be able to walk in community with the Lord, uninhibited by the temporary, by the flesh, by the troubles, by death or mourning or crying or pain, for it will have passed away. It seems saying that this world will end is a tragedy when God is telling us, no, that's the good news. The good news is that I will come and bring a new world prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed, better than this one. and that all pain and loss and grief will be undone. And it's holding on to this perspective, which my words are easily spoken. This can be hard to hold on to, but holding on to the eternal perspective means living now in light of then ahead of us, the promise of eternity. It doesn't make us ignore the present, but it gives the present meaning. And that even every act of faith within our circumstances, within our struggles, within our joys, within our successes, prepares us for the world to come. In the seen world, what around us is constantly shouting for our attention. You can't ride a tube. You can't walk on the pavement without a bus driving by shouting your attention. Go see this movie. Go to this website. Buy, buy, buy. But the unseen world, it holds the promise. It holds our calling, our true calling, our destiny to be with the Lord. If we just fix our eyes on that, to live by faith, to yes, endure, but to endure with hope, to endure with purpose, to walk in peace, even when the visible world can shake around us. Doreen, you were speaking about Jamaica. I come from Houston, Texas, a city that has been ravaged by hurricanes many a time. The world can shake, the wind can blow, the waves can wash away. But we do have a hope. That's the amazing thing. We do have a hope. It is not pointless. And when we understand the difference between the temporary and the eternal, the fears don't bite so hard. Our priorities, they can shift, and our hearts, they can actually grow and expand with our faith and understanding of who God is and what he's calling us to. That is ultimately where our eyes belong. So this is just part one. Please turn into part two, where we really focus on the unseen. Pastor Paul, please, over to you.